We as a society pride ourselves on our youth, yet we continuously use a justice system which does not accurately reflect that pride. The system we use now is a punitive justice system. Meanwhile, with proven results, we can see a restorative justice system, and more accurately, youth courts yield better results time and time again. Hello, my name is Dametre Martin. I served 1 year as the president for the United Youth Courts of Alaska, and president for 2 years of the youth courts in Ketchikan, Alaska. So, to begin with, we have to know what youth courts are. Youth courts are a peer-based sentencing system which you can go to after you plead guilty to a crime you're charged with. What happens is you have 3 youth judges, two victim advocates / community advocates, and 2 offender advocates. And the reason we call these advocates for the different sides is the youth courts are meant to apply justice to the 3 main parts of a crime: to the community, to the victim, and to the offender, and find justice for all involved. So, to start with, what are the benefits of youth courts? The first and most important one is reduced crime. Recidivism is a term we use to describe the likelihood that a person will recommit a crime. And nationwide for youth, that falls at about 76%. But for established youth courts, it's much lower. In Alaska, it's 6%. In Arizona, it's 9%. In New York, it's 11%. Dramatically lower than we see anywhere else. And just to provide a little bit more context, in Alaska, the rate of youth recidivism specifically is 66%. So in that state alone, it's a massive reduction. So it's incredibly safe to apply this nationwide. For Colorado specifically, though, since that is what we're here to talk, the amount of theft-based crimes in Colorado committed by youth, combined with the amount of drug abuse crimes, is 1,296. For theft-based, it falls on to 795. And for drug-based, it's 501. So, under the system we have now of punitive justice, about 76% of those, or 984, will recommit a crime. Meanwhile, under a 11% theory that we see in New York, which is one of the higher ends, that number drops dramatically to 143. Right there alone should be a big enough cry for why we need this in Colorado. But if that's not enough, let's talk about the economic end of this. For every $22 spent on a juvenile that has to go to a detention center or prison, $1 is spent via restorative justice in youth courts. In total, it's between that and it's $6 spent per helping, per person suffering from drug abuse and getting them help, to every $1 spent from a youth court doing that. In total alone, that would save Colorado $2.7 million a year. $2.7 million. Not only are we helping the youth more, we're helping the state more, which ties in to an issue with Colorado that we see. Colorado is ranked 14th in the country for the amount of juvenile theft-based crime. That number can be reduced via this switch. The next important thing to talk about once again is that this isn't a wonder drug. We understand that. This isn't going to fix that issue immediately or by itself. We need support from the state, and it's important to recognize it will take time to see results. It will take volunteers. Youth courts tend to be non-profit-based or organizations, but in concern of finding volunteers, traditionally speaking, that's not an issue. When Alaska, the state with the lowest population, can field 9 of these youth courts. The most important of which are Ketchikan, Anchorage, Juneau, Nome, North Star, and the Mat-Su. For context, Nome has a population lower than your average community college, and they can still field a youth court. They can still find people to volunteer. So to say that that's an issue, people will rise up to the occasion if there's an occasion to rise up to. From there, I'd like to give some more specific examples for how youth courts do good. The first one was a case I was a judge on a couple years back. A 13-year-old girl stole some makeup from Walmart. So she comes into to her court date. She has her advocates. She has the community advocates. And the thing that youth courts allow is they allow you to tailor the sentencing. And what I mean by that is her parents couldn't make it. She had to have a grandparent come in because her parents both worked multiple jobs to help support their family. On the normal day, she has to go to school and babysit her 6 brothers and sisters. So the usual flat-based sentencing we see isn't enough. And to sentence her to 35, 40 hours of community work service over 40 days, well, that may not sound like a lot. In that situation, that would be overbearing, because then the parents would have to find people to watch the kids while she did it, or her brothers and sisters would have had to come and join her. So we were able to tailor her sentencing so it was fair to the victim, and also was fair to her as a person as well. That's the beauty about youth courts. Everybody gets justice. It's not just about the victim, because the reason why recidivism is so high is because the current system we have fails to address underlying issues, which is the specialty of restorative justice in youth courts. A more extreme case was, we had an assault case where it was in school and a fight broke out and somebody ended up being hospitalized at the end of it. And there wasn't any sort of situation where it's like, well, they have 6 sisters, they have this, they have that. No, it was just they made a stupid choice. So they got their sentence of, I think it was 110 hours over 45 days. A lot. Because we were able to scale it to match what she could do, to make amends to the victim and to her. And that right there is the best thing about youth courts, in my opinion. I've said it before, I'll say it again, it is the drive for youth courts. The ability to tailor the sentencing. And now these sentences aren't just random or wild by the 3 judges, keep in mind. There is a predetermined range given to you by the state it resides in, whether it usually comes from a judge or from the state floor of their house. So there is some guidelines there, but it's sentencing by peers and for their peers to produce the best outcomes possible. The last thing is an argument I want to address, because in my time throughout youth courts, I've seen this a lot, and I've encountered people saying this a lot. Well, they're not really being punished. You're letting them off easy. It's not doing anything. And there's two main things I want to say to that. One, the results beg to differ. If it's not doing anything, why are we seeing dramatically reduced crime? The other one is that I don't care if it's letting them off easy, if it helps restore status quo, make amends to the victim, and it helps the offender with their underlying issues, whether it's a mental disorder that they need to seek help for, or a drug addiction, or a bad household. Youth courts can help deal with those underlying issues, and as mental health gets worse in this country, that's going to become even more important to deal with, not just ignore. So, with that, I encourage you to do your own research on this topic. We have provided links in the description to multiple sources, most of which we've used throughout the course of this. And if you want to reach out, you can contact me at dtwilliamsmartin at fortlewis.edu, or you can contact Blaine Acheason at his email, which will be linked in the description along with mine. And we can hopefully have this established, started, and rolling for the benefit of the youth in Colorado. Thank you.